Salam sejahtera, salam satu Malaysia. Very good morning, Mr. Mark, Dr. Tiagi, Lionel, and friends. First of all, let me take this opportunity to thank AIM for giving me this opportunity to be part of this very important initiative. And I'm excited to be here and to meet up with Dr. Hailey and my colleagues from Sekolah Menengah, Sekolah Kebangsaan, Sekolah JKC and JKT, and I think PIBG. So let me take about 10 to 15 minutes, or rather 12 minutes. You know? Maybe very strictly, 10 to 12 minutes. So I'm going to go by that. Just to share with you some of my thoughts on this very important initiative, because I think it's very important we take stock of things, and then at every point of our journey towards making this what do you call a developed nation by 2020. So, and I have colleagues here, Prof. Magis, Prof. John Arul, who have been with this kind of initiatives long time ago, you know, and others are here as well. So I'm going to use all those experiences, you know, and I can go on and on because we have got, I in fact teach a master's course at UPSI on thinking skills for a whole semester. So, but I'm going to take just 12 minutes to prompt, you know, or rather share with you some of these things, and drawing largely from one of my presentations last year at one of the conferences here. So, producing dynamic human capital in Malaysia, some of the challenges and prospects. Okay, Malaysia aims to be a developed nation by 2020. Malaysia's push for middle income status to high income status will need to be fueled more by talent, particularly that of leaders and knowledge workers, than any other input. You know, this is from the preliminary blueprint 2012, which has just been endorsed by the cabinet on January 30th. You know, so it's there, and it was very much in our deliberations, and it is very much recognized in our blueprint. Okay, the most important investment for Malaysia, as also the case in other countries, is the investment of human capital development. It is exactly why we are here, and we are going to think about that and to do our job better in the initiative we are taking on now. From the Preamble to the Education Act 1996 also recognizes that the purpose of education in Malaysia is to enable Malaysian society to have a command of the knowledge, skills and values. This is very important, knowledge, skills and values, because we have had these initiatives a long time ago, but unfortunately, maybe this is where we do not do a good job making this part of our culture. You know, if we share with people the knowledge and skills, maybe we will not do a good job, maybe, you know. So, to become part of our culture, thinking culture and so on and so forth. Necessary in a world that is highly competitive and globalized, arising from the impact of rapid development in science, technology and information. This was in 1996, long time ago. It's not new, right? Malaysian Education System, which has witnessed numerous initiatives. I want to put on record here, numerous initiatives, and I want to go back even as before 1980s, during 1980s, and very aggressive in the 90s. We actually went into taking up this kind of initiatives. Improving its policy formulation and implementation is once again at a very critical juncture. Once again, we are at a very critical juncture. Everybody talks about PISA and teams now and our ranking. You know, even now you can talk to people when on the street. They are talking about why we have gone down on our ranking and so on and so forth. So we have to do something. So that's why we are here. It seems imperative that changes in line with the global and local developments are recognized, which I think we have to already formulate and incorporate and implement to ensure that the education system produces dynamic and quality human capital. Employability is the most important thing now. Okay, this is briefly the national education policy philosophy. Even in the 80s, we have talked about it. Our founding fathers, or rather the architect of our Malaysian education, even in the 80s, have talked about the balanced individual. Yeah? This is what I want to stress: intellectually, spiritually, emotionally, and physically. This is the $1 million question. How do you create human beings in Malaysia? Dengan jati diri Malaysia, this with all these four aspects, that is our thing. So it's our continuing struggle. Okay. Our past initiative, very briefly, numerous initiatives have been undertaken in the past, particularly in relation to teaching thinking. There seems to be serious concerns on the failure to maintain continuity. Our problem, in my opinion, is I'm in my own opinion, as an educator for the last 35 years, I started as a primary school teacher, now I teach at the university. But forgive me for saying this, we seem to have a problem with our maintaining sustainability, We take out initiatives, and after some time we get so excited, forget about those, and then go on to the next one, and we say we think that we have done a good job of whatever we took on, and then we move on. Thinking skills in the 90s, smart schools later, cluster schools, LINUS, you can name it, you can go on and on, the list goes on. Right? I'm not saying these are not important, but we have to maintain, sustain the interest and our efforts to get this going. Not excited for a while and after that forget about those things and move on. Okay, very briefly, case study 1, thinking skill movement started in the 90s, incorporating thinking skill in the school curricula. School curricula, one of the few developing countries which went full, wanted to, very ambitious program to incorporate thinking into the school curriculum to every child. If you look at, you track down the history of teaching thinking in many countries, they actually went to the elites, They only taught to elite students, and here in the 90s, I must admit, I must give credit to our MOE, and we went on to do that. Very ambitious. All students, and subsequently in 1993, the teacher education curricula incorporated the teaching of thinking, and all these have been documented very well. But follow-up in activities, research, curriculum, modifications, assessments, we were all supposed to follow through. Today's position is most research findings suggest, unfortunately, most research findings suggest that there are numerous problems in the implementation at the school level. I don't know where we went wrong, and I think it's quite obvious. Education blueprint 2013 to 2025 on teaching high order thinking skills very clearly states every child will master a range of important cognitive skills, problem solving, reasoning, creative thinking and innovation in the education blueprint. Okay. Blueprint by 2016, now this is very, very specific. In the blueprint it has been stated by 2016, that's 4 years from now, 13, 14, 15, 16, yes, 4 years from now, high order thinking skill questions will make up 80% of questions for UPSR, 80% for Form 3 central assessment, 75% questions for SPM core subject, and 50% of the questions for SPM elective subjects. So this is serious. If you don't prepare our students, don't talk about PISA and things. Even our own centralized exams, our kids are having serious problems. Right? Challenge number 2, or rather the myths. So at this point, I want to remind, as an educator, and many of you are here with me. To me, these are number of myths. We have to mythos. We tend to stereotype, and we seem to propagate. In Finland, teachers teach less and students spend less time studying both in and out of school than their peers in other countries. So take note of this, it's not like more time. Every time we talk about innovation, people say more time. You have to give me more time. Not necessarily. Finland has done such a wonderful job of reforming the whole system, and actually they have gone, on the opposite way. So this is from a latest book. What can we learn from the Finland's successes, right? Finnish schools lack the standardized testing. We all talk so much about the standardized testing, standardized testing, test preparation, and private tutoring, tutoring of the United States and much of the world. So anything foreign is better. That's another mythos. I'm not saying we cannot adopt and adapt from the experiences of people from abroad, but always think about how can you localize and contextualize. How can you contextualize to our own needs, right? So these are things, knowledge, skills, and innovation. Blueprint education system will inculcate strong ethics. This is another thing. How do you get people strong ethics and spirituality in every child? Inculcating values more easily said than done. You can look at it. This is the Crothol's taxonomy. We are all aware of that. How do you get people to do this? Characterization by value sets. People talk about receiving, respond, and value. That's all. People hardly go towards this. So we want our human capital, Malaysian human capital, to go up to this level to make this part of our character. So very briefly, how many more minutes? Okay. Reversing the trend. Okay. I just want to. This is what from the literature, from the reading. Everybody, all this while, last 10 years or so, people have been talking about globalization. But I think the trend is reversing now. Rather than globalization, people are talking about regionalization and localization. All right? The Times August 2012 had a special issue where they say the dynamic is not so much that American firms are bringing jobs back to the United States from abroad, as it is that companies everywhere are bringing jobs and operations closer to where their customers are. It is all about regionalization and localization rather than globalization. Right? So I think we have already got local. We have talked about it a long time ago, local, yeah? Maybe this is the time we should unpack that term one more time. It allows us to better understand the needs of local market and adjust the product quickly. It is also a natural currency and energy cost edge. Yeah? Okay, the economists, again once again, talk about the third industrial revolution. I think Mr. Mann talked about it this morning. Not touched on it, so I'm not going to. So what I'm going to say is the old ways of making things involve taking lots of parts and screwing or welding them together. Now a product can be designed on a computer and printed on a 3D printer, which creates solid object by building up successive layers of material. People are talking about the third industrial revolution, right? So we have to make sure that our graduates are ready, our kids are ready to accept these changes. Let me go. 21st Century Competencies, everybody talks about it. Daring-Hammond and Gardner, 2010, is a book on teacher education. They talk about, again, this is about the teacher quality. That's why I want to touch on it. 21st century students need a deeper understanding of the core concepts in the disciplines they learn. Now, what do they mean to them? You know, I used to share this very interesting experience of mine in the United States classroom when I went back for my sabbatical. You know, year 3 kids who are like 9 or 10-year-olds, for 20 to 25 minutes they were arguing on the basic concept of fraction. Fraction. Why the 1 is on the top, why the 2 is below, and going on and on. And a child walks up to the thing where the teacher just being a facilitator there, and then the child asks, no, let me, at a point when they were already closing it, they said, she drew one big box there, and then she cut that into half, and she said this half, okay, fine. She said, how can this half be the same as the other half? Because you drew a larger box and cut that into half and said, this half is bigger than this half is bigger than this half. See, there is no yes or no answers, but the thinking process is so important that they were going, and how much of that, those kind of things are happening, or we would like those kind of things happen in our classroom. Students need to be able to frame, you know, they can frame their own problem, investigate how to solve those problems, and solve problems using a wide range of information resources and digital tools. Alright? So competitiveness and employable graduates, we talked about it. What do we want our kids to have? Number 1, knowledge of human cultures and the physical and natural world, intellectual and practical skills, personal and social responsibility, integrated learning. Alright? Let me go straight. Okay, homegrown model. Now is my time. Homegrown model, what I'm putting to you is we take these wonderful initiatives from abroad, you know, and then as I said, mentioned just now, let's think about the local context and how do we implement those things in our classrooms in a very different cultural setting, especially in a Malaysian classroom. A typical Malaysian classroom is a multicultural classroom with so much of variations, and teachers must be prepared for that. And again, if you talk so much about Finland is very different from our classrooms here. So all these must be taken into account. Yeah? So when you adopt something from abroad, take all these things into consideration. Yeah? Indeed, some of the education reform policies appear to be paradoxes because they depart so clearly. Just want to show it to you. This success has been achieved through education policies that differ from those in many other nations. What I'm trying to suggest is we have to be bold enough to think outside of the box, that we have to think about the unthinkables. Alright? That's what exactly Finland did. You know, within the last 20 years, I think they have achieved. So here is we ourselves trying to step out and think about all these possibilities out there, from the top policy makers right down to the implementers, you know, in classrooms where they have to think about this kind of possibility. Indeed, some of the education reform policies appear to be paradoxes because they depart so clearly from the global education reform. That is in Finland, yeah? Homegrown model, okay. Just want to touch briefly on maybe it's a total approach, meaning if you take knowledge and skills to all those who are involved in our program, teachers, pedagogy and curricula. How do we teach? How do we share these with our kids in the classroom? Assessment is to follow suit, just like what has been stipulated in the education blueprint. Technology, the support system must be there, and the learning environment must be changed. So with that, I think we have a pretty good chance of doing all these. Okay. Critical areas. One last point. Critical area. Once again, drawing from our past experiences in this wonderful initiative now taking on. We are taking on now teacher quality. Very, very important. Research shows that 50% chance for a child to do better is determined by teacher quality alone. So let's work on that. Regulatory and accreditation body for teachers. You know, this is a larger issue, not only for this. Upskilling of teachers, professional development, there has to be continuous professional development, and emphasis on exams. One last point to caution you, all these ratings, PISA, teams and all, they are important. But don't make that as the gospel truth. Okay? Why? The great Harvard Gardner, one of my Mahal gurus at Harvard, says to treat these current student assessment studies with caution. Please treat this with caution because contending that results in studies, PISA, teams, all that, do not measure interpersonal, spatial and creative skills. So they are not there to help you to create that total human capital. Thank you very much.